So lovely good evening and welcome to Camnet TV Main News. To present, my name is Jeffrey Yambo. Top stories in the news tonight. President Edgar Lungu's immunity debate intensifies. COMESA traders lock up market management officers. Chinese construction company fails to pay damages to injured former worker. In international news, at least 34 people remain missing after a boat capsized on Lake KIVU in the DRC. And in sports news, CHIPOLOPOLO fires 4 bullets on unresponsive Mauritania.
On Monday, 15th November 2021 on National Matters, join Dr. Luwinda Habazoka as he hosts Brian Mundubile, the leader of the opposition and former government chief whip.
Yeah, so it's a rebranding process. It's a normal process in my view. You know, when you go through a defeat like we did, with that dismal performance, you want to really investigate what transpired. You want to set up a team that will go and do a post-mortem.
At exactly 20:45 hours, as they discuss the role of the opposition, economic governance and democracy in Zambia. Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Hello once again, another news in detail. A 27-year-old man of Kanyama compound in Lusaka is nursing an injured spine after he encountered an accident while at work at a construction company 3 months ago. Chipipa Chuma, who is a former employee of Unique Construction Company, a Chinese-run business, says he was injured after a mound of sand collapsed on him underground while conducting general work at a construction site. He states that the company is hesitating to compensate him despite medical experts having made it clear that he will be unable to work for the rest of his life due to his injury. We have more in this report.
At only 27 years old, the life of Chipipa Chuma, a former construction company worker, seems to have come to an end, as doctors say he will be unable to work for the rest of his life due to an injury he encountered at work. Mr. Chuma says he was working as a general worker for Unique Construction Company, a Chinese-run business, until July 2021, when a mound of sand collapsed on him underground at a construction site. He tells Camnet News that an X-ray revealed that he has an injured spine among other complications. The only other option is to carry out several correction operations, which are estimated at a cost of 500,000 kwacha. Mr. Chuma says he now has to depend on crutches to walk, and the company has not compensated him despite various efforts to engage them.
So accident inabura shitikira kuja kusaitu kalonje kunyukanyama clinic zenze underground so chinabura chagwa ninze underground so chinabura cha dirika chidoji chinabura cha nivinikila so skaveta dia bene nabura yanifukulula doctor anakamba kutala kuti ine sini kwanisa kusemeza kusenza kwa life mwako ba company wanabwera waniletira nkoli amenili nayo but pena naenda futi kuma review doctor anakamba kuti sufunika kuenda na ikoli kufunika kwenda kwamboenda na bibiri chifuka sufunika kufuka kwendo ya meni ili right ndia meni funika not zidiaka pansi so inabwana so inabwana chitabwana bwana waperekera ka paper mena nemba doctor kuja so kufika kuja naona company ngo ikonga but ndine wamene da patient wamene sakwanisa kuenda but ningoenda naona kuti abantu koneka nambo bavuta so na ine kunkala muntu uja amene amvera kubobaba so kuliba mene nzo chitira so manje nezo pempa kuti government ilanganepo so blokupenilili hapa ine nkani munga kupeti so hapa singa kwanise kusebenza pepe nkani ya kupeti singa kwanise kusebenza so manje so monga this time sinigona tulo nimvera musana kubaba so ba company lokopa mankwala so nalanganepo kuti uyu muntu anasichitira panchito so nalanganepo aniletera chetu labon tubiri akibonzera side na side private party nde kuri clerk start sometimes ingolokona nkara so mitundo zimashita kuchoka zeka then kutoile futi sinikwanisa nimashita cheku imilira so cha sinikwanisa kunkara.
His wife narrates that life has become hard for the couple and their child after his injury, as he is the breadwinner.
Tezoshukirira pa katikati apa pelenze bwino benzo peza ndorama bakaenda cheko kuri vanzavo vaenda vachitatu mapiso ekiso chabera bwera ta peza vokudya manje vana vazambo kudya chani pe pari this time ero family yabo na EVF na ndrama varishirira ndrama vakafota ndiye kandrama ke varushirira kuti kakachoka kuri yabo kaende kuri kabwere kuri wose family tikwani.
However, a comment could not be derived from the company as the contact of the human resource was switched off.
Mobile subscriber you have dialed has their phone switched off. Please try again later.
Camnet News will continue to follow the story with the relevant authorities until it reaches its logical conclusion. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
A family of Lusaka's Mutendere compound is living in fear of losing their house after heavy rains damaged part of the roof to their house. Speaking to Camnet News, a 56-year-old Stephen Munjilamantu says the roof to the house was partly blown off after a heavy downpour that left a trail of destruction in some parts of Lusaka, Mutendere inclusive. Mr. Munjilamantu has since called on the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU, to help the family before the situation gets worse as more heavy rains are expected. More in the following report.
A family of Lusaka's Mtendere compound is living in fear of losing not only a roof to their house, but their lives as well if help does not arrive on time. Stephen Munjilabantu, a 56-year-old man, has told Camnet News that the roof to his house collapsed following heavy rains that were experienced in the city, which has left the roof to his house balancing on conduit electric pipe, a situation it describes as a state of emergency. He has since called on the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU, to come to his aid, as he has no source of income to repair the damages caused by the rains.
Amalata yadita so from a capital but one support government a couple of Malata but the track of Malata as at Wamisha going on Malata Mogapros
and Mrs. Munjilabantu has also narrated to Camnet News what transpired and says her two children have been affected by the disaster as the open space on the roof of the house causes the cold to enter during the night.
Limbikuti yapya twafiro ewafyo pilisho twinga fwayako kutwafako okwisa tubikira kwa malata yambi sana amakaplosa ukwisabika kaplosa yako ebati ya balance mulandwi taikweta makairiyeka.
Friday, 12th November 2021, several residents of Lusaka marched to the Ministry of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development, demanding that government helps provide better housing infrastructure for them, even as the rain season approaches, which in most cases leaves a trail of distractions.
Housing, sometimes if the rain is raining, you find like the houses are already folded with a lot of
food like amboloka manyumba mbia kuka mwa George but then zile kumanti
so when we have a good drainage system, which means
Prudence Chota reporting for Camnet TV.
A group of over 200 COMESA market traders have called on the United Party for National Development, UPND administration, to ensure that sanity is restored at the market, alleging that they have previously been taken advantage of by the Patriotic Front PF-aligned market management. The traders who met Saturday morning say unknown people have built on top of their shops as they claim to have been allocated the same space by market management. The traders have since driven out the said management and locked up their office. More in this report.
Recent years have seen confusion erupt at places such as bus stations and markets due to alleged political interference in operations of these places. Market traders at COMESA Market in Lusaka have demanded for the United Party for National Development, UPND, to ensure that sanity is completely restored at the market, as well as other similar public facilities. The traders who held the meeting Saturday morning have alleged that market management at COMESA was aligned to the former ruling Patriotic Front PF and ran the market with impunity. The traders allege that after the gutting of COMESA market in 2018, things have been in disorder, as many of them have been denied trading space at the market by the said management. Others say market management allocated unknown people to build on top of their shops, which they legally obtained.
They are stealing from us from the time when the market was gutted. The challenge that we are facing right now is that they are not allocating the people themselves their own portions of shops. Instead of following the procedure, they are selling to different people that are not even supposed to be at this market. Now, looking at the multitude which is here, all the people are complaining. They don't know what is happening.
They have called for the new administration to quickly correct the situation and ensure that every trader is reallocated the trading space and that no illegality is allowed to continue.
Banatipoka mamalo bonse tilibe mamalo. Bamene wagula mamalo no bamene wachoka kuma city market kuma town center kuti. Ife wakudala tilibe mamalo market. Ni waya pane ni waya pane. Ndine mwana wa masiye bamayi wanga namwadira wanisira malo. Ya jamalo yaje. Wa office wananipoka malo wa mangapo. So pane nilipena potantika ningo ungwa choso chabe.
Every month we gram songo 235. Mashop chep tungona ndrama wakamezi enda sisi mukofa muri 000 nothing, and then bin market libe bin obangono wose mawo banagulisa even kapak this place here yafa kuti ingale ni kapak even period yao yanamanangarira mu office inaita kudala expire wafuna mochani mu office ndio ukawala watikamba ukawalala so isetibempa kamba kuti abantu bachoke tifuna my election ya bwere tisake ma readers binangu banali capable banaza sebezana government of the day. We don't want corruption and swanga tege bantu PF aneze limbo banamizira boza mkomesa TI ni committee after all ni PF anezo sebeza. We don't want, this is don't government. So what we want is bachoke period yao inakwa na inasira.
They have further stated that they drove out the said market management and locked their offices about 2 weeks ago, calling for depoliticization of these offices. The task for the new administration remains huge, as citizens expect nothing but professionalism in all areas. Zipora Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
GEAR's Initiative Executive Director McDonald Chipenzi is calling for the removal of the presidential immunity clause in the Republican Constitution. According to Mr. Chipenzi, removing the clause will enhance accountability for past, present and future presidents who will, according to the law, be probed on suspicious activities. He adds that the immunity clause has led to some presidents in the past behaving carelessly with impunity, knowing that they are protected by law. In this regard, Mr. Chipenzi notes that all those calling for the lifting of former President Edgar Lungu's immunity are within the provisions of the law as per current constitution. Friday, 12th November 2021, saw some United Party for National Development UPND members march to State House seeking audience with the head of state and present a petition demanding that President Hakainde Hichilema lifts the immunity of former President Edgar Lungu.
It is within the law that they are demanding these issues. Then there's nothing wrong for anyone to exercise the constitutional rights that are there, and also to call for the respect of the Constitution. In this case, we expect that no one should be agitated by this debate, but there will be a lot of respect for this debate and respect of those that are bringing up this debate. But our issue is that the immunity clause has been a serious hindrance to the fight against corruption, especially in the presidency, because it is a recipe for looting, plunder, with impunity, as the president cannot be held to account while in office. And this has led us to a situation where we are fighting corruption in arrears, which is very expensive. Yeah, so we are of the view that this clause must be done away with, so that any president who assumes office must understand that he or she is not immune from being prosecuted, and that he is to be held accountable by the people.
Meanwhile, Patriotic Front member Charles Kakoma has called on the United Party for National Development UPND members to stop harassing former President Edgar Lungu. Mr. Kakoma says the petition filed by some UPND youths demanding that the immunity of President Edgar Lungu be lifted is unnecessary. Mr. Kakoma says the youths should instead help President Hichilema fix the economy and not prosecuting people. He has since called on the UPND members that filed the petition to apologize to the former president and to President Hakainde Hichilema for their conduct.
Stop harassing former head of states. Those youths who went yesterday to State House demanding that former President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Lungu, the immunity should be lifted up. They're just wasting time. My fellow youths, this is not the time to start presenting petitions, criticizing each other. No. This is a time to help President Hakainde Hichilema to fix the economy, to create 1,000 jobs for the youths, us, the youths across the country. So I'm appealing to those youths who went to State House to apologize to President Hakainde Hichilema, to President Lungu also. Don't make President Hakainde Hichilema unpopular. It's too hairy. And apologize also to the Zambian people.
The opposition Golden Party of Zambia has charged that Zambia will never realize her full economic potential if key sectors of the economy remain in foreign hands. Party President Jackson Silavwe notes that successful mining industry is only guaranteed by Zambian-owned mines, and hence the need to ensure that KCM and Mopani are run by government. Mr. Silavwe is disappointed that despite being one of the biggest copper producers in the world, Zambia has very little to show for it and national development. The Golden Party has, to this effect, called on the New Dawn government to re-examine all the tax holidays, incentives and concessions in the mining sector to allow for maximum flow of mining revenue to the treasury.
KCM and Mopani copper mines should remain in Zambian hands. The UPND administration need those two cash cows. I think the Zambian people are fatigued. Since the days of Cecil Rhodes, the Zambian people have not seen much from the mining sector. There's nothing to show for it except for our forefathers who worked in these mines, who've worked in these mines, except for their medical conditions, which we are nursing up to now. So really, if we are going to derive maximum benefits 57 years after independence, the Zambian mining sector must begin to drift into the hands of the Zambian people. And one would say that, how would we do this? I think the starting point is that the president should appoint a high-level task team in economics, in mining, in management, and be able to examine how we can run these mines in Zambian hands on profitability. As long as these mines are not run by Zambians, they're not 100% Zambians, I'm afraid we will never derive any benefits, any tangible benefits from these mines. So we are also asking the New Dawn government that can you re-examine the tax concessions, the tax holidays, as well as the incentives that you have given to these mining companies, so that we can begin to derive maximum benefit to take this country into prosperity.
You're watching Camnet TV and not just another channel. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
This is the Rusitu Irrigation Project. It's a government project funded by the World Bank through IDSP.
The project involved laying over 18 kilometers worth of interlinked water pipes that will supply water to the 280 hectares land for small-scale and commercial farmers in Lusitu of Chirundu district. We worked on 35 kilometers of the road network and also constructed 159 concrete water hydrants of different sizes in all 3 tiers. The state-of-the-art water pumping station at the banks of the Zambezi is fitted with 9 water pumps, a dedicated concrete reservoir, a 500 kV automated standby generator, a fully automated pump switching system that is interlinked with a second reservoir of 27,000 cubic liters capacity, which is fitted with 7 water pumps, a standby generator and floater tanks for that extra water pressure on the irrigation lines. Savenda Construction is grateful to the Zambian government and the World Bank for giving us the opportunity to be part of the history of Lusitu, as the project will benefit over 282 households once completed, and is just one of the many that Savenda Construction has embarked on, owing to its track record and capacity to deliver as per requirement. Savenda, save nations, develop Africa.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
The trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the country.
There's so much data.
Mom?
Yes, baby?
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
On Monday, 15th November 2021 on National Matters, join Dr. Luwinda Habazoka as he hosts Brian Mundubile, the leader of the opposition and former government chief whip.
Yeah, so it's a rebranding process. It's a normal process in my view. You know, when you go through a defeat like we did, with that dismal performance, you want to really investigate what transpired. You want to set up a team that will go and do a post-mortem.
At exactly 20:45 hours, as they discuss the role of the opposition, economic governance and democracy in Zambia. Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. A Lusaka-based economist, Yusuf Dodia, has called on government to come up with a policy which will compel foreign investors to bring in foreign currency into the country, which is equivalent of their exports, as a means of stabilizing the kwacha. In an interview, Mr. Dodia explains that at the moment, investors can take out huge sums of money without injecting the money back into the economy, which is preventing the kwacha from appreciating significantly. He says Zambia should learn from countries like South Africa, which ensures exporters are not allowed to make exports without investing the money into the export country to ensure that money is kept within the local economy.
If you allow the situation to remain as it is, they will continue to decide whether they make Zambia an easy place to do business or make Zambia a difficult place to do business. So I think that in order to stabilize our currency, that's the first thing that we need to normalize. That every exporter who is exporting out of Zambia, the law must be put in place, the rules and regulations must be put in place that if you export 1 ton of copper, we want to see $10,000 coming into Zambia because it's $10,000 per ton. So if I'm an exporter and I have an account at Sanaco, when I export, I get my export license and I export. Sanaco and ZRA should be on my back saying, you exported yesterday, where's the money? You see, until I show evidence that $10,000 came in bank transfer from China, from Europe, wherever, to come into my bank, not into the government's bank, into my bank in Zambia. Now the advantage of this money being in Zambia, even though it's in my account, is that you can borrow that money which is in my account. It's in the Zambian economy. If that money is sitting in Switzerland, it's the Swiss people who are borrowing it.
The Zambia Public Procurement Authority has charged that it is a criminal offense for procurement entities to certify substandard works or products. Speaking in an exclusive interview with Camnet News, ZPPA Capacity Building Manager Terry Gunduza says it is also a criminal offense for procuring entities to certify goods that have been delivered when in fact not. Mr. Gunduza says the previous situation where procurements were done in a wrong way have enabled the country suffer from losses which could have been avoided if the law was well placed.
Requires that for each contract awarded, there must be a contract manager appointed to manage the contract. Now, if there is no contract manager to award, even if, for instance, a simple contract like for the supply of bond paper to a government agency, if there is no one managing that, then make sure that the supplier supplied what was awarded to it. You may end up the supplier not delivering the goods. If it's to do with works, where you have a supervisor supervising those works and certifying those goods or works to having been performed to the required standard, but when in fact not. So those are the problems mostly when you find in the order which come. It's about contract management. So what we have done with the revised public procurement law is that it's now criminal to certify substandard works or to certify that goods have been delivered when in fact not. Because that's where the issue was coming from. Now we have made it's a criminal offense, and when someone certifies that the goods have been delivered when in fact not, that becomes a criminal offense, and that such officers will be prosecuted.
The Ministry of Health says diabetic retinopathy still remains a challenge in Zambia due to increasing urbanization and changing lifestyle. Ministry of Health University Eye Hospital Senior Medical Superintendent Professor Kangwa Muma reviewed that a recent study conducted at the University Teaching Hospital Eye Hospital established that the blinding diabetic retinopathy was a problem in 35% of diabetes mellitus patients. Professor Muma says diabetic retinopathy is a challenge that needs urgent intervention. The professor was speaking on behalf of the Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary Dr. Kennedy Malama at the commemoration of the World Diabetic Day held in Lusaka Saturday. More in this report.
Diabetes mellitus, commonly known as diabetes, is a metabolic disease that causes high blood sugar. The hormone insulin moves sugar from the blood into the cells to be stored or used for energy, but with diabetic patients, the body either does not make enough insulin or cannot effectively use the insulin it does make. Ministry of Health says diabetic retinopathy has continued to be a problem in the country due to increasing urbanization and changing lifestyle, as more and more people are becoming affluent. University Teaching Hospital High Hospital Senior Medical Superintendent Professor Kangwa Muma, who spoke on behalf of the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health at the commemoration of the World Diabetic Day, says diabetic retinopathy is a very big problem that needs urgent interventions.
The more recent study conducted at the University Teaching Hospital's Eye Hospital, the blinding diabetic retinopathy was found to be at 35% among all patients with diabetes mellitus. This is another very high finding, which points at us coming up with the interventions to prevent diabetic retinopathy and indeed other complications of diabetes mellitus.
The professor, however, says government is ensuring decentralization of certain health facilities by upgrading them from clinics to level 1 hospitals, thereby enabling many people have access to comprehensive primary health care.
The government of the Republic of Zambia has decentralized the diabetes medical services to the various facilities across the country. And these facilities are easily accessible. Therefore, all the Zambians are encouraged to go to the nearest facilities and have their blood sugar levels checked.
And Lions Club of Woodlands President Lion Friday Kashiwa says available statistics have shown that millions of people with diabetic around the world cannot or are unable to access the diabetic care they do badly need.
Caring for our brothers and sisters living with diabetes is just as good as medication that they are getting. What we have done today is to go out there and sensitize the community about how to care about our colleagues living with diabetes.
Access to diabetic care entails that people with diabetes be availed constant and non-stop care and support, as it is the only way to manage the condition so as to avoid any unnecessary complications that may lead to blindness. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Siavonga district has received 1,800 bags of fertilizer as the first consignment under the direct input supply to be distributed to farmers during the 2021-2022 Farmer Input Support Program FISP. Alpha Commodities Siavonga Depot Manager Chishimba Mutale said the district will soon receive another additional consignment of 300 metric tons to cater for 1,393 farmers under FISP. Mr. Mutale told Southern Province Agricultural Coordinator Dr. Max Chombe that from the 1,800 bags of fertilizer received, 1,111 is D-compound, while 689 is urea. Dr. Chombe was in Siavonga to check on the flow of fertilizer delivered under the FISP and undertaking a joint monitoring and supervision visit in the district. Zanis has more.
We have received 1,800 bags. D-compound is about 1,011, amounting to 55.5 metric tons, and urea is about 689, amounting to 32.5 metric tons. And we are likely to receive about 300 metric tons by the end of this week. Like Alpha Commodities, we are covering the entire Siavonga district, and we are likely to cover about 1,300, and the exercise will not have a lot of challenges because everything has been put in place.
This is Camnet TV Main News. We take another break. We'll be back with international and sports news.
Infirmity never had a legal right in here anymore because she was healed in her soul. He also took care of that accusation in the court where he said, I loose you, and that means to acquit someone of a crime.
Why does he say, be strong and be courageous, Mamutale? Number one, you've got to be strong. You've got to be courageous when claiming the things that belong to you.
If you're up against principalities and powers,
en contra de
and Satan
principados,
is knocking you around,
y el enemigo te está dando contra ti,
put praise on in your car.
pon alabanza.
Put praise on.
So we must learn to depend on the Holy Spirit to tell us what these things are and what's the next thing and what the church ought to be doing rather than conform to everything that is going on.
He says you're blessed. He says flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father.
He will preach the gospel with great power and influence, I say, even to the nations of the earth. And I began to prophesy his destiny. As I did that, the Spirit of the Lord said, now rebuke the spirit of depression.
The mystery of your unfulfilled prophecy
is found in what I'm saying today if you hear what the Spirit is saying, because the King is speaking.
That everything that God has given you will flourish because you have His mind like never before, in Jesus' mighty precious name.
This is the Rusitu Irrigation Project. It's a government project funded by the World Bank through IDSP.
The project involved laying over 18 kilometers worth of interlinked water pipes that will supply water to the 280 hectares land for small-scale and commercial farmers in Rusitu of Chirundu district. We worked on 35 kilometers of the road network and also constructed 159 concrete water hydrants of different sizes in all 3 tiers. The state-of-the-art water pumping station at the banks of the Zambezi is fitted with 9 water pumps, a dedicated concrete reservoir, a 500 kV automated standby generator, a fully automated pump switching system that is interlinked with a second reservoir of 27,000 cubic liters capacity, which is fitted with 7 water pumps, a standby generator and floater tanks for that extra water pressure on the irrigation lines. Savenda Construction is grateful to the Zambian government and the World Bank for giving us the opportunity to be part of the history of Rusitu, as the project will benefit over 282 households once completed, and is just one of the many that Savenda Construction has embarked on, owing to its track record and capacity to deliver as per requirement. Savenda, save nations, develop Africa.
Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties, on +260 762 166 018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
Welcome back. And in international news, at least 34 people remain missing after a boat capsized on Lake Kivu in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo on Thursday. As at Friday, volunteers and relatives were still searching for missing dozens and others who are feared dead in the lake. Locals say 15 bodies have been recovered since Thursday when a pirogue carrying about 100 people sank in Kalehe territory in South Kivu. In other news, Sudanese armed forces have been deployed at vantage points in Sudan ahead of planned anti-coup rallies 2 days after the military formed a ruling council that excludes the country's main civilian bloc.
Authorities, volunteers and relatives kept searching on Friday for the dozens missing and feared dead in Lake Kivu after a boat capsized on Thursday in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Locals say 15 bodies were recovered and at least 34 people remained missing since Thursday. Here I am in pain and I have a great sadness because it is not easy to lose a wife and I had 9 children. My dead boys had just graduated from school. Locals say about 60 people were rescued alive. Father of 9, Alexis Simba, lost 2 of his children and his wife in the shipwreck. I'm a father of 5 children. My wife died among those who died. Myself was in that moment when the boat capsized. I was lucky to be saved. Our cry is to ask the head of state to help us with rescues, because if the passengers wear life jackets, they can be saved easily. We also want the government to provide us with rescue machines in case of shipwrecks, and above all, the government build ports for us to facilitate and regulate the navigation. Majority of the population use rivers and lakes because of lack of good roads, and it is a less expensive form of transport. Sudanese armed forces have been deployed at vantage points in Sudan ahead of planned anti-coup rallies 2 days after the military formed a ruling council that excludes the country's main civilian bloc. Almost 3 weeks after the military coup, civil society and resistance committees are calling on Sudanese to take to the street for a so-called Million March. All this in a climate of suppression meaningful of the methods of Omar al-Bashir's regime. Dozens among the leaders of resistance committees mobilizing the people have been arrested. On Friday, 12 November, many of them were discreetly operating. This mobilization is intended since all initial engagement to convince General Burhan to back down has failed. On Thursday, he announced a new sovereignty council which excluded members who demanded before the coup a rapid transfer of power to civilians. Residents of Bamenda in the northwest region of Cameroon are protesting the death of a 7-year-old girl who was allegedly shot by a police officer on her way back from school. The tragic incident happened on Friday, November 11, at about 12:30 in the Nkwen area. Every father who sees this situation cannot stand by and watch. How can you explain this? What does this have to do with their battle? But now the policeman is running away. We came to pick up the child when the policeman had already fired and run away. Are they going to kill us like this every day? She and her mother are my neighbors and they live by the roadside. Reports say there was heavy vehicular congestion around the time of the incident. The police officer launched his weapon on a driver who had refused to stop his car. On the other side of the road was the deceased, identified as Brandy Tatau, who was then hit by the bullet.
But I want to reassure you people that the author of the gunshot, the policeman, has been already remanded into custody. And after the investigation, he will be strongly sanctioned if it is confirmed after the autopsy that it is his gunshot that has killed that young girl.
As part of the protest, vehicles were set on fire and roads blocked. The army had to shoot to disperse the demonstrators. A similar incident occurred in Cameroon's southwest Bois on 14th October.
It's now time for sports news. And in sports news, FC Rangers forward Fashion Sakala scores a hat-trick while Leicester City striker Patson Daka contributed a goal as Zambia silenced Mauritania 4-0 at the National Hero Stadium in the penultimate round of the Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup Group B qualifier. Coach Beston Chambeshi made 4 changes to the team that was held to a 1-0 draw by the Equatorial Guinea last month at the same venue. Simon Silwimba came on to take the place of Benedict Chepeshi. Injured Cletus Chama made way for Evans Kangwa. Sirio Chiwemwenya and Kelvin Mubanga Kampamba dropped to the bench for Tostan Sabata and Patson Daka respectively. The win takes Zambia to 7 points and 3 points shy of group leaders Tunisia, who are away in Equatorial Guinea later today. On that sporting note, we come to the end of the news. We'll take a look at the headlines once more. President Edgar Lungu's immunity debate intensifies. COMESA traders lock up market management officers. Chinese construction company fails to pay damages to injured former worker. And in international news, at least 34 people remain missing after a boat capsized on Lake Kivu in the DRC. And in sports news, CHIPOLOPOLO fires 4 bullets on unresponsive Mauritania. We now look at the Camnet World Verse for the day, coming from Romans 14, verse 13, and it reads, "Therefore let us stop passing judgment on one another. Instead, make up your mind not to put any stumbling block or obstacle in your brother's way." Thank you for watching Camnet TV News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Bye-bye.